Hey, it's Laurie Hoke. I am here once again to inspire and develop the leader within you. I have a special message for you this month as I am obviously in the midst of packing up every content, all the contents, item by item, in my home, preparing for my family's epic adventure, our total take a risk move into something entirely different direction, bringing our family to North Dakota at the end of the month. So I come to you and I felt like these boxes set a good background. It sets a good tone for my message to you today. Because as I've been preparing really for months of this process and change, there's been a magical thing happening inside of me, teaching me the process of how to evaluate and assess what's, hear me, in season in my life right now. I want to discuss what I've learned with you because I believe it serves a really great advantage for you to do the same, to evaluate the criteria to determine what's in season, what's most relevant in your life right now, and thus also deciding what's not in season, what has become outdated or irrelevant in your life that you may not even be aware of. For me, as I venture through each room in our home, it has become apparent that we have a lot of stuff that is no longer relevant. It may still work, but it's not relevant to where we are in our lives right now, both for myself, our family, as well as each of my individual children. You see, I think we go through life at such a fast pace that we don't often stop to think, are we carrying things forward from the past into our now that no longer serve a purpose? This was especially true for me as I began walking around our home and looking at all the physical contents of our lives. When you have to decide if something's going to go in a box and travel hundreds of miles with you, or if it's not relevant anymore, that's a great time to get really honest with yourself about, is this serving my best? Is this still who I am? Is this still where I am in the various stage and season of my life? You see, things that fit before in my former career of being a registered dietitian don't have relevance to what I'm doing now. I've answered a higher call to inspire and develop leaders, and all of the paperwork and files and boxes worth of things that were associated with my former career no longer fit. As I look at that, I see how many things in our lives we might still be packing forward and surrounding ourselves with that really don't belong there anymore. It's important that we take the time to assess what's relevant now. You may or may not be moving soon, but regardless of that fact, let's endeavor on this together. Decide where you are now in your journey, who you are now, and if the things you're surrounding yourself with physically, okay, the things in our lives there, as well as the things within us, our beliefs, our expectations, our paradigms, our perspectives, our ways of doing things, are those relevant and the most excellent way for right now, where you are right now. Regarding the dietitian things, what I realized was I had this huge black trifold table display about healthy holiday eating. You know what? That sucker has been in storage in some closet or container for the last at least 15 years. It's not relevant to me anymore. So instead of carrying that with me in the semi up north, I thought, you know what? This could be a blessing to someone else. I donated it yesterday with gladness and great joy to my local health department and offered it to them as a resource of which they were so thankful and appreciative. And believe me, I was glad to get it off my hands too. It is amazing when we stop and look around how many things we're carrying forward that really don't fit where we are in our journey right now. Because if you're inspired by the way I share my ideas, the way I lead my life, if you're leaning into these messages I put out, it tells me that you're one that's on a growth trajectory of your own. You're looking to become more and to maximize and develop your own potential and all that talent within you. So you know what that means? We're in a constant state of evolving. That means we're continuously becoming something more than we were yesterday. And what I didn't realize until this move was what that requires of us. Obviously, commitment of time, energy, resources to continue that growth at such a rapid pace. But also it requires us to evaluate what's no longer in season. If we don't, we'll end up surrounding ourselves, as I am here, kind of boxed in by things that served a past purpose or were relevant in a former phase of our life that don't fit where we are now or where we're going. Wow, that is potent. I want to be one that's constantly evolving. I hope you are as well. So what that means is things will constantly in our lives become irrelevant as we let go of the former things and take hold of the things that are the best expression of who we are today. So what I have found in this is that if you don't know who you are, anything will fit. Anything will fit, and I'm not talking in terms of clothes, but in your environment, in your thinking, in your heart, in your relationships. If you lack a strong sense of identity and knowing who you are with utmost clarity and confidence available to you at the present moment, if you're not sure who you are, anything will fit. You'll keep carrying things forward that were the old you, or the you that was less developed and less mature. You'll keep bringing that forward, both internally and externally speaking, until you get the clarity of knowing who you truly are. See, until you know who you are, updating, bringing things into season and making sure that what's around you is in season and relevant to now, to the best expression of excellence now. Before you know who you are, updating becomes optional, not essential. Whoa, catch that. Before you know who you are, updating is optional, not essential. I see that when we moved into this home, there were several things that I remember feeling were a little bit dated, few light fixtures, couple fans, things like that at the time, but I just began to overlook them. We didn't make any changes because it felt like something that we just got used to being with. I tell you what, in the last few months, as I've grown so much within me and my perspective is shifting, I'm realizing my commitment to excellence isn't just to my own personal growth and leadership track. My commitment to excellence must be congruent and consistent across all aspects of my life. Wow, that was eye-opening. I began to see as I developed a more keen awareness of what is in season for me right now, what that means to me, developing my own criteria of who I am now, where I am now in my stage of life, the things that maybe were relevant for me clothing-wise, home decor-wise, just memento-wise, to me in previous years doesn't necessarily come with me. It isn't the best expression of where I'm going from this point forward. So the things in my home began to kind of rub me. And those light fixtures that I'd been overlooking for years became like this irritant because I began to be intolerable of things that were not in season. Are you following me? So in order to leave our home in the best state for the next buyer, my husband and I updated lots of light fixtures, changed out several fans, brought things current, because before I didn't have a value for that. I didn't understand the necessity of it, but I do now. I do now. And I realize if I want to be excellent and in season in terms of the relationships I'm committed to, the responsibilities and commitments I make in my calendar, to my community, to my peers, the things that I want to be up to date and in season with professionally speaking, I'm not doing things the way I did things in my business 3 years ago. It doesn't fit. It's not relevant anymore because of where I am in my journey now and how I can best serve other leaders. So I've updated my processes and the services I provide accordingly. I update the way I parent my kids as they get a year older every time so that I'm treating them according to their current level of maturity and capabilities, not trying to parent them the way I did when they were infants. For some of you parents out there, whether you're a mom, dad, or grandparent, goodness, is your parenting in season? Or are you still holding on to the way you used to do it that is actually not relevant to their needs today? That control, that need to be the primary influence may be what you want, and it's the way you've done it before. But has a shift happened? Does something need to be different now because of the way they've developed and matured, and now actually would benefit from receiving something different from you? It's a lot to process, isn't it? Oh, man. But as we become cognizant and aware to evaluate the contents of our lives, again, internally and externally speaking, for what's in season, the things that are out of season become those irritants that we need to resolve. We either need to eliminate or adapt and rework so that what's around us and what's within us is in season across all the dimensions and facets of our lives. How about this? Anybody remember this? It's called a VHS, for those of you that may not know. Wow. I found a box of those as I was going through my current memorabilia, or a closet with old memorabilia, and I realized these are not current. I don't even have a VHS player anymore. So there is no reason to carry a box full of these to the next home with me when there is no way for me to utilize them. Not only is there no way to utilize them, there's no need and there's no desire. I have done okay the last 10 years without watching these, so you know what? They're irrelevant. They are out of season, whatever the contents were. So I'm not taking them with me. I'm leaving those behind so I can move on and fill my space with things that are relevant to the very best of my process, my journey, and my needs right now. One of the ways I want to share this with you that has been really meaningful for me, environmentally speaking, is bringing quotes into my life that have particular meaning and are significant to me in certain times and seasons. This one, over the last year for sure, trust me, from God, has been super inspiring in my walk. And when I see that on a daily basis, it speaks truth to me. Another one that's in season for me right now is a gift from some friends, a going away gift that's beautiful inspiration. My mantra, the best is yet to come. That speaks again of our constant state of evolving. Wow. So those are in season. I have filled my home with quotes and verses and images over the last 20 years that have different meanings for different times. Without realizing it, I knew when a certain quote had served its purpose and had ministered what it needed to me and that then had become outdated. I knew that without even realizing it until I paused to kind of factor in all these things as I thought about this message of being in season and making sure the contents of our lives are updated to be in season, that I was doing that with quotes all along. There were some quotes about going through hard times. There were some quotes about the process, or the journey is the destination. That was huge for me for a certain time when I was expecting the process to be smooth and relatively pain-free, when in reality it was this epic amount of ups and downs, which I talk about in my turning growing pains into growing points video about moving from sore to sore. So that quote spoke to me for a while, and it's fulfilled its purpose. So I moved that off my desk now and have brought in quotes that speak to where I am now and what I'm becoming in the current stage. So I'll wrap it up with this. Know that if you're constantly growing, you're constantly evolving, and that means there's going to be things that become irrelevant in your life. Look around and determine what's the criteria you can use to define where you are in your life right now in terms of the stage and season, and who you are right now. Let that be the criteria that you evaluate the contents of your lives. Will you do that? It's a process, and I understand it is a commitment of time and energy, but man, is it worth the process. It is worth what you put into it for the clarity and competence and confidence that you'll get out of it. So assess what's in season for you right now. Are the contents of your lives in season and serving your best right now, or are there things that need updated in terms of your physical possessions, your mindsets, your expectations, your relationships, your commitments, whatever it might be? Know who you are so you can know who and what you're not and get that excess out of your life so you're focused fully on what's forward.